Hi there. My name is Corey. I'm a senior instructor with Summer Track Days, and I'm here to talk a little bit about Gingerman, one of my favorite tracks. I've been here well over 100 times. It is the track that I constantly recommend to friends. If you ever want to just try what this entire car racing and motorsport scene is like, Gingerman is the track for you. I will get into why in just a little bit. But for starters, I'm just going to talk you through one of my laps, talk you through what I like doing, what feels right and natural to me, and tell you a little bit about how to be safe on this track. That is always a primary focus for me, especially when discussing this with novices, trying to instruct. I always go for safety first, fast lap times, like a distant third. I will freely admit I am not the fastest driver. I'm currently competing in a time trials event because I feel confident enough that I can get to a pace that is competitive, but I am well aware there are plenty of people much faster than me. That said, I do feel I'm one of the safer drivers. I very rarely have incidents anymore, and that is why I've become more of an instructor role. To that end, I'm going to walk you through this lap. So we're going to start out with exiting the pits. And right away, I want to talk about something that is a little different than any other track. There is a very, very clear white line. It almost looks like a lane on a highway. When you are exiting the pits, you must stay within this lane. They call it a blend line, and they do not want you blending out to the right until the white line, the blend line, goes away. So still inside it, still inside it, still inside it, still inside it, still inside it. The line has gone away. I can now use the rest of the track. That is there for a safety reason. There are fast cars coming into that turn that know that there might be a car in the blend line. So they might have to adjust their turn accordingly. But if you jump out and you start using the entire track right away, that's a surefire way of having two cars become one car. All right, here's the 2-3 straight. You can hit speeds north of 70 miles an hour. You can see I'm just warming up my tires, having a good old time, getting a laugh in. And brakes. This is a very late apex. I've talked about how late apexes affect a turn at Groton. This is the same kind of turn. It just keeps turning and keeps turning, and you can now finally see that cone that's saying this is what you should aim for. But I've already been turning for a bit, so very late up apex. All gas. This is a nice little straight. All the gas all the time. Some organizations allow passing through here, but right now you're just applying the gas. 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are tricky turns. It is one of those where you just have to get the right feel for it. And once you have the feel, it doesn't go away. But I see more cars spin out here than anywhere else on the track. This is the gotcha turn. Now, I mentioned that I'd bring up why I suggest Gingerman to novices as much as I do. It is because of this. It is because if you're going to spin out, it's going to probably be in 5 and 6. And there is nothing but farmland. There's no walls to hit. It is a very safe place to lose control. So if you do spin out, and I have spun out at Gingerman a lot, the good news is you probably will not roll over. You won't wreck your car. You're not going to hit a wall. You're just going to go off in the grass, come limp back into pits, remove some grass from your car, make sure you haven't DB'd any tires, and go out there and learn from your mistake. Gingerman is so beginner friendly, and I love it for that. Back to turn 5 and 6. So you can see I'm right now braking in a fairly straight line and then diving into the left side of the track. And there's this curb that I'm about to go over. Take that curb as straight as you can. And then you can see I'm coming up on this next piece of curbing. You want to come at that piece of curbing as much as possible. So you can see I actually started correcting and I started coming straight back all the way to the right rather than just holding the wheel and hooking left that entire time. This is a great example. If you paid for the entire track, use the entire track. But it's also a great example of knowing where to start your car on a turn. Because if you think of this as 2 turns and not just 1 turn, I'm setting up right now for the 2nd turn. And that's going to help me a lot. As opposed to being somewhere in the middle of this. And that's how you botch that 2nd turn. Because you just run out of track. And you don't know how to get as tight in right here. Because you're going too fast. You can see right now where these brake marks are, or tire marks are. That's where someone has gotten it wrong and is trying to compensate. I'm turning in way earlier than that. I'm now aiming for this other cone. And you can see I pretty much nail it. Gas, gas, gas. It's a cute little straight. Again, usually you can let 1 or 2 cars pass if you need here. More warming up the tires. This is a nice, easy, straightforward apex. But here, this is where you get a lot of different opinions, and it does matter on what style car you're driving. Is it front-wheel drive? Is it rear-wheel drive? Is it a tiny little Miata with 100 horses? Is it a Dodge Challenger with 500 horses? I'm a Miata guy. I like my line. I'm happy to advise that line. I immediately start going as far left as possible. Let the car track out. You just let it carry its momentum out that way. You can see I'm almost in the grass, honestly. I'm using the entire track. And usually right about here, there's a cone. It's a little hard to see due to the artifacting of the video, but there's a cone right here. That is your sign to come back the other way across the track. You come all the way back in, and you kiss that cone. So you go far, far, far out left, hold it for a while, and then cut across the track to the right, and you end up very straight, right where I am. You can see I straight out the wheel, and that's where I'm shifting. This is the moment to just shift at and feel good. You purposely let the car settle there for just a moment, as all those G-forces load your suspension. Letting it settle kind of unloads the suspension, and now you can start going through Gingerman's S's. You can see I'm just holding the wheel. It is completely stable. Holding the wheel, holding the wheel, holding the wheel, holding the wheel. I'm not going like this the entire time. I'm just carrying it exactly in this position. For me, that's very comfortable. It's why I suggest setting up that turn and getting the car level for that brief moment so that you can come over that little hump in the road, and hold the wheel, then you turn it, and you just hold it exactly at that, and you hook through that entire section of track. For me, it feels very natural, very fast, very good. And usually, you can actually see a hint of it right now. I'm doing 70 miles an hour. With my current build, I can get almost up to 100 just by hooking right here exactly right. So this is the momentum section of Gingerman. It's where the momentum cars really come out to play. This is a weird apex. A lot of cars come sailing off here and get it all wrong. As a novice, I highly recommend be conservative. Brake earlier than you think. Brake harder than you think, or more than you think. Not necessarily harder, but more. And then start dialing it back and learning how you can carry more and more speed through this turn. You can see I'm coming up on that cone marker, and I'm getting as close to it as I can. I'm kissing that apex. The Gingerman crew is very good about where they put their cones out and using them to help guide you. So this is a very helpful indicator. Coming out, from this point on, this is where momentum cars do not have fun anymore. This is where the high horsepower cars really gallop. It's kind of like the long straight at Groton, but honestly, Gingerman favors high horsepower cars more. So I'm right now pedaling for all she's got because I'm just in a little Miata. You can see I'm redlining gears. Hard braking. Those posts are brake indicators for a reason. Hard braking. Right here, you have a choice. Do you stay straight That's pit entry. Get your fist out that window. Or do you hook it into turn 11 and go for another lap? Turn 11, you can see I'm coming into it right now. I like to stay off the curbs as much as possible, but I will freely admit you can carry some more speed if you get on the curbs. I say getting on the curbs is a little bit more of an advanced technique because they do inherently destabilize your car. That's why I tell novices, just don't do it. Just stay on the nice black flat stuff. You can see over to our left a nice big sand pit. That and this catch fence are pretty much the only place you can really screw up at Gingerman. There are a couple of others, and I've seen all sorts of incidents. But if you take 11 with this mindset of, I know this could be the bad corner, and I should be a little careful, a little extra careful, it is darn near impossible to have a bad day at Gingerman. This is the riskiest corner in my opinion, and it is certainly the corner where I've seen a couple of accidents, but it's also the corner that if you get it right, the rest of the track's kind of all open to you. So just play it safe, be smart, get it right, and carry on. Straight out, gas, 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 gas. This is again, and this is why I feel Gingerman favors high horsepower cars more than Groton, because it has so many of these surprisingly long straights that you just keep your foot pinned down. It's got the straight we just finished, which is called either the back straight or Phoenix straight. You've got this, the pit straight. You've got the tiny little straight between 2 and 3, the kink straight between 3 and 5, and then the short little straight between 6 and 7. Lots of passing opportunities. I'm used to, being a tiny little Miata, having my finger out the window the entire time saying point by, point by, point by. Just keep that in mind, that these are the areas where you should be checking your mirrors, seeing if you're holding someone up. This is also how trains develop. If you don't let someone by through those sections, it's only going to get worse through the rest of the track. Again, hard braking zone. I like braking about 2.5, but that's probably too early for me. I could probably brake later, but that's just a visual reference. You've got those poles, use them as the visual reference they were intended for. And then very simple, turn in, let it track out. This is a very tricky turn. This is another turn where I can just say experiment, figure out what you like. I like coming at it from more or less the middle of the track. And I stay out a little late. It's a little late up in apex, but not as late as turn 3. So turn 2 is a bit weird, a bit of a doozy. But you can see I'm purposely ignoring that entire first curb. And now I'm coming hard at that second turn, that second curb. And that lets me track out. I kiss that curb to my left, and I'm very straightforward from this point on. I'm purposely showing a little bit more because I'm now at speed. Again, very late apex. You see, I'm still out, and now I'm coming back across and kissing that apex over there. Very late. I cannot, like every single time I've ever instructed a student and sat in their passenger seat, I'm always telling them that apex is later than you think. Stay out. Stay out, stay out, stay out. Keep straight. Keep braking. Okay, now we turn in. Like I said, this is a little straight where some organizations allow passing. Come at it fast. Hard braking. Like I said, you can see how I get all the way back over. I'm purposely covering 5 and 6 again because they're such tricky turns. But I come all the way back over and I'm back up near that curb the moment it appears. And then hooking the wheel as tight as I can. Getting on the gas. And away we go. So that is a pretty decent view of Gingerman. I love this track. I would keep reviewing laps over and over again if I could, if I thought I wouldn't lose some attention span. But even I lose some attention span watching other people's laps. So, in short, quick little lap at Gingerman. I love this track. Like I said, it is the most beginner friendly, but it does favor higher horsepower cars. There's only a little section, which is actually what I'm about to head into, that favors momentum cars and really knowing how to carry that speed. So in short, come out to Gingerman. I will happily instruct you. I know Summer Track Days has a few events planned at Gingerman throughout this year. I can't get enough of this track. I'm excited to go do my competitive events in it this year. I've got it in about a week's time. It is the most forgiving track. It's another track where you just know if you did something right and you were able to shave off even like a half second like that. There are turns where you just know. 10, the very weird turn before you get onto the very long back straight. That would be a good example of, you know, when you did it right, and you can, if you have a lap timer, you will just see the difference immediately. I advise students not to use lap timers in person in the car, but rather to review that data later. And so if you do that and you are just reviewing that data later, start looking at where your lines were and what was getting you the most time. I think the answer might surprise you, especially in turns like 10 and 3. If you are apexing early in 3, which I know front wheel drive cars might need to, but if you are apexing early, try it my way. See how much time you end up getting out of that. Thanks for your time. Hope to see you out there.